Grade 12 English 40 Special June 16 over 2016 Analytical Response Nelson Mandela remembering his most liked symbol of freedom in Nelson Mandela 1918 to 2013. Remembering an icon of freedom article describes Mandela as the main and important liberal leader who had struggled against apartheid party throughout his life to fight for freedom. Revolution had never been easy for him, but he put his life and all his effort to win freedom for his nation, and he eventually got it. I believe this is what makes people remembering Nelson Mandela as an icon of freedom. More the less, I chose this article on purpose so that we can learn from his inspirations, especially to pay attention to his intellectual and unique personal and leadership characters. Mandela must had unique leadership and personal characteristics according to the article. When Mandela received news that black South African leader Chris Hani was assassinated, he decided to prevent civil war in South Africa, and he did. From thereafter he got to build more credential to win more trust so that the apartheid ruling party can see well how they can use him to control peace instead to keep him in prison. From there his sentence to imprisonment for life release begins, from much tied to Lawson, and he immediate push on the majority ruling negotiation. This is his right step which led him to success, using all the chance he had to win. Neither side accept one another on that negotiation, but to choose Mandela to be their leader since he shows no interest in taking revenge against apartheid party was the only option for all. Mandela keep his promise update to protect the white minority from South Africa. These are the evidence which Nelson Mandela good characters and as intellectual leader. Nelson Mandela must had great intellectual and wisdom, although his kindness was there which led him to trust, but using all the chances he had reasonably, and knowing what to do, are all playing role of intellectual. But his kindness alone can't make these hard win happen. According to the article, this is what Nelson Mandela said to himself while he was in prison. If he was ever to achieve that free and non-racial South Africa of his dreams, he would have to come to terms with his oppressors. What this means is the first revolution approach using violence had no use for him anymore, and so he has to change the use of violence to non-violence method. He was advised by another revolutionary before, but he disregarded as useless tactic. But right now he turned to that option, and as freedom door opened for him, he used the non-violence revolution and he success. As matter of fact, the first guy who used non-violence revolution principle failed, but Mandela had successes. From here I think one can tell how intellectual make different. These are all about Nelson Mandela, the late South Africa great president, intellectual and wisdom which I think will inspire us all. There are many books out there for your reference where one can read more about him. One of those books has a title called Long Walk to Freedom. Maturement and Analytical Response. Question number 1 in the article Ancestor. The genetic source. Dr. David Suzuki is telling us in his grandfather's and mother recent immigration from Japan to Canada narration. He mentioned his grandfather came over to Canada with high expectations to prosper like any other immigrants. But not only their expectations were turned down, even their tenuous fishing business were also destroyed. It was really terrible racial discrimination. The all group of people were made impoverished. From their first and second generations had lived with no right and freedom. David Suzuki is their third generations who are able to access education, learn technology, and become skilled people. By mentioning that ancestor is your genetic source, I know he is not talking about science. He is actually says it in another way around that home is home, which mean the mistreating they have been going through could not happen if they were at home. Question number 2. I think David Suzuki is telling us the true story. When I came to Canada 1997 as landed immigrant, 6 years after refugee resettlement programs were opened for the Southern Sudanese in many different parts of African countries to come to North America started from 1992, I heard news of America, especially jobs and buying cars from those who came before me. Thereafter, I felt interesting and want to come. Now I realized after trying to do something every day for almost 20 years now and yet building nothing that not only I won't be able to do thing I wish to do, also there is war, reaping other nationals' lives and their properties. One won't see this policy written anywhere, but if you come to North America, you will feel it.